Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. First thing, pardon my voice, allergies. It's spring when I'm shooting this. In fact, you guys will probably see this in spring. It's just, next year. This is May of 2022 when I'm filming this. So, on to the book. So my daughter actually found this at the public library, although I found it for her. We were looking at the cat section, which happens to be on the top of her shelf. Yes, recently we've been spending a great deal of time at the public library gathering books. As of today, we gathered way too many books. Lots and lots of books. Checked out on her card, not mine. But we found this one a couple weeks ago, and I've been meaning to review it. It's just, allergies. And my voice sucked. So, here we go. So, Lost and Found Cat, the true story of, I'm going to butcher this cat's name, Kushka's Incredible Journey. So this is a very kind of interesting children's book. And the reason I'm doing it here in this month, because this is Asian American History Month. And why the Middle East isn't necessarily Asia, it's close enough. And I wanted to use this book. So this family is actually, I believe, from Syria. And they had to escape because, war and destruction. So it's an interesting story. This woman, her husband dies. She realizes it's not safe for her family, even though I do believe one of her sons is 18 at the time. Her children are kind of older, but they escape Syria and they refuse to leave their cat behind. And they have to hide it because they don't want the smugglers to find out. So it kind of tells their story of how they crossed Syria for a while. They end up in Turkey, for at least the cat could hang out for a while when they're hiding. Then they had to get on a boat, and the cat's carrier was damaged, which is how the story ends. And they eventually get across, and the son takes the cat once they get across, because again, they have to unload and people have to get off, because otherwise it's going to sink. And the son takes the cat in its little basket and to the land. And the terrified cat gets out because the carrier is loose. And the family, when he helps the family, and they search and search, but eventually they have to leave. So eventually, after the family's dead, the volunteers notice this dirty little white cat that's in the village, and obviously not part of the regular stray cats because it's being attacked and chased away. So eventually, and this volunteer, I think was American, was aware of this family that had lost its cat. So goes and finds it, takes it to a vet. It was filthy. I'll show actual pictures that are at the end of the book. Who shaves it, gives it some vaccines, and they call it Dias, which is what the vet calls it. This is a woman by the name of Amy. She's one of the people who helped write the book. So they search. So she looks after Amy for a while, and they search. And they thought the family went to Germany, because that's where a lot of the Syrian refugees had gone. And so eventually, she gets a family to foster them in Germany while they continue their search. And so she takes it to Germany. And eventually, they find out the family went to Norway. And they do a video chat. And the family calls the cat by its name. And it perks up and is obviously looking for its family. And so eventually, they get this reporter who's kind of been documenting this story, who's willing to ferry this cat back to its family. And at first, the people in Germany say, this carrier is too small. So that's what this picture is depicting. And all of a sudden, the cat stands up and does complete turn, which, yes, they have to be able to turn completely around in the carrier. I know I traveled with my calico from Romania when I was a Peace Corps volunteer many, many years ago. She's almost 13. By the time you guys see this, she'll be nearly 14. Hopefully she'll still be around. And normally she's in here with me, but I don't think she's sleeping somewhere. So he gets the family, and they finally get their cat back after this long, I think it was a couple of years, or maybe it was a matter of months or so, but they finally get their cat back, which is kind of a cool little story about this family. And this shows the cat's journey. So they start down here in, I'm going to mispronounce this, Mosul, which I believe is in Syria. And then they travel all the way across Turkey to Istanbul, and then to the island of Lobos. And then this is where the cat gets lost. and then all the way to Berlin, and then to Norway. So the family had a long trip, so did that poor cat. So it's a very interesting thing. It talks about the Syrian refugees, and as well as other refugees from Afghanistan and Iraq and other parts of Africa who are seeking a better life. And that's the reason I think this story is kind of important to tell. And here's some of, they have nonfiction pictures. This is, or actual pictures. So this is the cat. This is what he looked like. More pictures. And this is Amy when she was taking care of him on the Greek island. And this is kind of the villages and the type of people who were there rescuing them and helping them. And then this is the family who got their cat back. Unfortunately, I believe the cat died a couple of years later of some sort of cat disease. But the cat died with their family. I mean, look at this little girl. She got her pet back. And I think this story really humanizes the refugee crisis, particularly in these other countries. Because we do, particularly as an American, this is not part of our understanding. It's not part of our day-to-day life. We do not see these refugees. I do have some familiarity. I volunteered at a Islamic refugee center trying to helping teach English for a while when I was unemployed several years ago, back in like 2015. We're also more familiar with the, which was made in the news, the Lost Boys, which are the young African children who were escaping the Darfur and the wars in the Sudan in Africa. And of course, we're aware of Syria. I mean, who's not aware of Syria? I'm sure there's a lot of refugees. I'm filming this in the middle of the Russian-Ukrainian war, which has been going on for the last several months. And there are refugees from that. And this story very much humanizes this. They wanted to bring their cat along. This woman is traveling with her children. Her husband's been killed. And they're starting a new life on the other side of the planet. I mean, they've gone from Syria to Norway. Talk about completely different weather, completely different world. But it very much humanizes these people. They had a pet that they loved, and then they searched for, and then they wanted to bring along. This was a member of their family. And this touched my heart as a person who brought a cat from Eastern Europe, who we have 4 of them. I mean, we're cat people. I grew up with pets. When I went to Romania as a Peace Corps volunteer, I couldn't imagine not living without something 4-legged and furry. And I thought about, it's like, what would happen if something happened in Romania and we had to evacuate? We were told we couldn't bring our pets. I'm like, no. I've had my calico Kendra, who normally, again, if you check some of my videos, she'll pop up periodically. She is almost 13 as of the shooting of this video. By the time you guys see it, she will be close to 14. Hopefully she's still around for a little bit longer. She is my first child. I love this cat to death, despite the fact she still periodically drives me nuts. But she is my first child. I had this cat, obviously, for a long time. My husband had 2 Siamese. His cat, Lily, who my daughter is named after. That is one of her names. Died when I was pregnant, and he cried because he loved that cat. She was 14. His cat, Opie, who died about a little over a year ago, was almost 18 when he died. And my husband fell apart when he lost his cat. Then we proceeded to end up with 3 kittens. 2 black, which I wanted, and what was supposed to be a Siamese mix. Turned out to be a little bit more Balinese. We have a slightly long-haired, not fully long-haired, decently long-haired, medium-haired, white, blue-eyed, slightly orange cat. That would be Jasper. He's the youngest and the most dominant of animals in our household, besides, of course, Cranky, also known as Kendra, my calico. And then Obsidian and Onyx are 2 black cats. So yes, we are very, very big cat people. So this touched my heart. And again, my daughter is a cat nut, as is evidence. Again, we have 4 cats. So how could she not be a cat nut? But it's a very humanizing story about how people, and also how people came together. A lot of people were involved in getting this cat off this island to Greece and then back to its family, searching for where its family went. and trying to get it home. And how happy this family was to have their pet back, because they had lost their world. Their entire world fell apart. Dad died. Everything they knew and loved was taken away, and they had to risk their lives with smugglers, running and hiding, and going to a completely new country with a completely different language, which isn't always going to be welcoming to them. And to have their pet back, a piece of home. Imagine having to give up your world to be safe, and the mother having to take her children. I think some of her kids were 18 and older, but still, she was older, and she had her world turned upside down. To imagine that, and I think it allows us to imagine what that would be like, particularly in how humanizing it can be. In these people had a pet that they loved. They're not just some weird strangers that are different from us, but all because they speak a different language and live in a different world. They love their pets too, and they did everything to get their pet back. And it was a happy ending. Even though the cat died several years later, they still got their pet back. It died at home with its family, and it obviously very much loved its family. It was somebody's house cat, most likely. I mean, it was healthy, it was cleaned, it loved and was very attached to its family, and its family was very attached to it. So, it's a very beautiful story. The illustrations are fantastic. The authors are Doug Kurtz and Amy Shrodes. He was the one who got the cat to the family. Amy Shrodes is the one who fostered it on that Greek island. And it was illustrated by Sue Connelson. So, and the couple wanted to, these are the two people. And they got it from Greece to Turkey to France to Germany. Yeah, they spent 5 months. Doug was a photojournalist who spent 5 months in Greece, Turkey, France, Germany, finally Norway, to bring the plight of the refugee people around the globe. When he met the cat, when these two people met the cat, he knew he was very special to someone, and they wanted to do everything to reunite him to his family. And the illustrator is just a standard illustrator. Though it looks like she's Italian. So, but again, it looks like she's done quite a few American stuff as well. Yeah, and she lives in rural Iowa. So, but yeah, she was an international student of School of Studio Arts in Florence. So she actually spent time outside of the U.S. But this is a beautiful book. The illustrations are fantastic. It's an amazing story, particularly for homeschoolers if you're looking at the refugee crisis. If you're looking for a book that will help really humanize it, particularly if you're looking at for the younger kids, and what it's like, this is a great book to do. I think I would even read this to older kids and have them look at it, just because it's a very interesting story, and again, it's a true story, and it's so humanizing, and it touches your heart, particularly if you're animal lovers. So, and if you're studying the history of these wars, it's a great book to do because it talks about the people, not just the battles and the politics, but the people that are involved in this. Because they're the ones who are most affected. They're being chased out of their homes. They had nothing to do with this. They did not choose this. Their world was destroyed by males. I hate to say it. Most of the time it's political males who are posturing and trying to control things. And they turned entire worlds upside down because they're power hungry and crazy. So that is the end of this review. Fantastic book. I'm probably going to put this on my to-buy list. Various things I get from the library. I need to put my to-buy list. We're probably going to end up with a children's book problem. The librarian moniker is not wrong. I have a master's degree in library science. I'm also a bibliophile. I got rid of a lot of my adult books at one point in time. And now we're collecting children's books. But if you like what you see, be sure to check out the rest of the channel. I do children's books like this. I do older stuff. I do various videos, both educational and not. I do some more travel stuff as well, hopefully, as we open up the world, as we get a chance to travel more, particularly as my daughter gets a little bit older. By the time you see this, she'll be closing in on 4. At the time, she's closing in on 3. So I'll also add more homeschooling educational stuff as we go along. I'm going to be definitely adding a lot of board game stuff. Hopefully that stuff will be shown by the time you guys see this. There's a lot of board games on my daughter's 3-year birthday list. We also have a couple that I need to cover soon. So hopefully all of that stuff will be on, because that's one of the main part of our homeschooling, particularly at this age, is children's board games. So that will be covered, as well as we get there with education and stuff as well. So that will be, should be up by the time you see that. So, and there's more stuff coming. So be sure to check out the rest of the channel, like and subscribe, leave a positive comment if you have one. And yes, my voice should sound better at other videos, because again, spring, I hate spring and allergies. So thank you.